Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and as soon as I get done doing this video, after this I'm going to watch the state of Georgia Little League is going to play against West Virginia, heading to the Little League World Series. Hopefully Georgia, where I'm from, will win. Georgia, where I'm from, and the location of my igloo in 100-degree weather. And yesterday it was a hot one here, by the way. Okay, looks like Link2 is filming an inside documentary, behind-the-scenes documentary of Link2, and as you know, they're one of my sponsors, and as you also know, they sell private equity, and their link is in the top of my description, and they have Ripple, Uphold, they have PolySign, they had a space company, I think, what was it called, Axiom Space, the other day. They have... they've had Circle, that I don't know what's sold out. You'll have to go check and see what all they have, but they're loaded down with the great company names in private equity. Go check it out. Check this out. Here's the Brazil's president. Listen to what he has to say about the US dollar.
A ideia de que a gente tenha uma moeda própria para fazer comércio entre os países. Eu tenho dito publicamente, por que o Brasil precisa de dólar para fazer comércio com a China? A gente pode fazer as nossas moedas. Por que o Brasil precisa de dólar para fazer comércio com a Argentina? A segunda coisa é que eu acho que o Banco dos BRICS tem que ser mais eficaz e mais generoso do que o FMI. Ou seja, o banco ele existe para ajudar a salvar países e não para ajudar a afundar países. Porque é o que o FMI faz muitas vezes.
Está tentando levar agora. Looks like the BRICS countries are not too happy with the status quo. All right, moving along. Check this out from Mark Phillips, who did do the infamous article that XRP was designed for $10,000. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot Mark Phillips either. He's a nice guy. Met him in Washington, D.C. He actually gave me a physical Ripple token to carry around in my pocket. Very cool guy, very nice guy, very smart guy. Palau stablecoin is a big deal. What might also be a big deal that is being overlooked is the retail digital wallet facilitated by Ripple. Will digital wallets be another white label service for banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions? We'll find out. Now, Mr. Intuitive, who is the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel and also does his own Twitter Spaces. In fact, I would call him a serial Twitter Spaces guy now. He does them around the clock, it seems like, throughout the day. He's got all kinds of interesting people either talking about topics, getting into it, you name it, fights, whatever, crypto fights, he does it all. But in this one, he had the guy, Jay Anson from Palau, to talk about the Palau dollar live. Listen to what was said here.
Big question, Jay. Is this a test for Palau, or could this be a test for the dollar on the world stage?
I mean, that absolutely depends on the United States and what they want to do with the results of our tests. I mean, for us, this is a Palau test. It's our innovation. It's our idea to do this. We have not had any success, I would say, in gaining support from any of the U.S. Agencies that normally support these types of things. In fact, it's the U.S. banking system is kind of one of the reasons why this has gone. So like we're delayed. Like we were supposed to start in November of last year, and then FTX happened, because no one was regulating them.
Crypto winter came in.
With all that stuff. And then Silicon Valley Bank, we were going to launch in March, and then Silicon Valley Bank
Those rats
happened. So we, pulled back, and both times we just focused on improving the solution design and educating the users and the retailers.
Well, Jay, that's fine. You keep focusing on Palau. We're going to make noise for you because it's par for the course over here. Nobody wants to do anything. They don't want to adopt and get cannibalized. And there's probably no regulations there, just like there's no regulations here.
That's correct. Yeah, we're like our pilot is very limited. It's limited to the executive brand.
All right, so that's interesting stuff. But then Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, says atomic settlement. Remember the Bob Way quote? Once you have atomic settlement between two central banks, it's game over. Because, well, first let me show you. This came out from R3 today. Digital Dollar has announced the completion of its retail CBDC pilot. The report discusses the benefits and considerations of a U.S. digital dollar to enable cross-border payments using DLT. And here's a couple of snippets from the report. Atomic settlement. A settlement method that is often defined as including simultaneous and instant properties when transacting cash, securities, and other assets. The method can group multiple transactions into a single batch to ensure that all legs are successfully settled or none of them are settled at all. Simultaneous settlement. And then there's this, Ripple transforming global payments, enabling Internet of Value, atomic settlements via central banks. The Holy Grail, folks. Or, as Bob Way said, game over. Now, there's one other thing that Bob Way said that I always like to remind everybody of, because the whole narrative has been for the last 5 years that, it's not about the price, it's an XRP. No, nobody's focused on the XRP price. Well, the digital asset investor is, because I've always believed that was the whole point of this deal. And apparently Bob Way thought the same thing. He doesn't talk like this now, but this is from his LinkedIn profile back in the day. Several people left fancy jobs and joined Ripple because, I paraphrase, if we capture even a minor fraction of the international payments market, do you know the value XRP will need to have to support that? Do the math. Really, really big trade number divided by 100 billion XRP equals wow. I know this sounds a little hypey, folks, but so be it. I love it. Those sort of conversations always buoyed my spirits and made me smile. But really, they also gave me anxiety, made me remember that my job was to make sure we don't all F this up. Thank the Lord for Bob Way. I like it. Now, back to Ethgate and the documents that came out in the Empower Jason Foster release from their Freedom of Information Act request. I wanted to remind everybody, okay, the first thing you're looking at, these were the meetings that were going on leading up to Ethgate. There's 2 or 3 guys from Andreessen Horowitz. There's 2 or 3 guys from Union Square Ventures, both venture capital firms. And then you also had Joseph Lubin communicating directly and meeting with Bill Hinman, okay? So here's the reminder. During this time period, there were 3 people I know of who were doing interviews, and they were intentionally going out and doing interviews and bragging about how they were shorting XRP. The 2 multi-coin capital guys specifically said they were shorting XRP because they believed it would be declared to be a security. Mike Novogratz was shorting. I don't remember if he gave that specific reason as to why he was shorting, but these are the 3 guys. Both of these guys are with Multicoin Capital, and their limited partners are Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures, who were in those meetings. Okay, Mike Novogratz is best friends with Joseph Lubin. He also worked at Goldman Sachs with Gary Gensler, and he has all kinds of ties to all these Ethereum people. And he also had ties to the people in these meetings. So I said, I think it's entirely appropriate to ask if any of these three were being fed information by anyone in the secret closed door SEC meetings that would eventually result in the Ethereum free pass. Because we know that those meetings gave the Ethereum free pass, but I've always suspected that it wasn't just about giving Ethereum a free pass, that there were also conversations about somewhere in this thing about stopping Ripple, or who knows what was said, but somehow, some way, it wasn't good enough to get the Ethereum free pass. These three guys had to have some kind of reason for going out and bragging about shorting XRP against this backdrop. And I'm wondering why nobody's putting a microphone in their face and asking them these questions. And then Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, said Union Square Ventures, who was meeting with Hinman Horowitz and Perkins Coie, is a Protocol Labs and Filecoin investor. Protocol Labs is very involved with Wang Zhang, which is the Chinese tie to Prometheum as well. Filecoin founder Vinny Lingham is an EEA member and is also partner at Multicoin Capital. See it all tie together, folks? Then Mr. Huber says, in essence, this was actually in the Freedom of Information Act documents, folks. This is a presentation you're looking at that Consensus did for William Hinman and all those people. Consensus and Cardozo, that's Aaron Wright. Blockchain project selling consumer tokens in consumer protective manner. Shows you everything about what they were discussing. This is one of the attorneys for Consensus. Let me see who this she works directly with Joseph Lubin in growth strategy at Consensus. He's a lawyer for Consensus. Joseph Lubin's there. Aaron Wright was the guy that was from Cardozo law firm or law school, and he was in the Brooklyn project involved with them. Ongoing collaboration, right? Great, Bill. I'll get something set up, right? Now, remember this name. Let me get back to it. Remember Matt Corva? Matt Corva was the attorney for Consensus, who, when we were uncovering all of his video where he was running his mouth, he made some smart comment. Yeah, y'all have watched more video of me than my old videos of me than my mother, or something like that on Twitter. Well, remember, when we were uncovering all this stuff, nobody knew about who had been in these meetings and what had been talked about. It. We pieced all of this together minute by minute, second by second, by reviewing hundreds of hours of public video on YouTube. And this was one of the videos we uncovered back then.
Standards about Ethereum technology used in enterprise.
This is Matt Corva, same guy that was in the meeting.
Do this with best practices in token sales again. So we started a little bit on this with the Coinbase framework last year, and the idea of the Brooklyn project is getting to a place where token sales better protect consumers. So Vinny talked about a couple of things, right? Like transparency in pre-sales, that's a big thing, right? Like no one should have a 10,000% discount. People shouldn't be flipping tokens on consumers. Things like lock technology used in enterprise.
Let me see something here. I wanted to see something. He said Vinny. I don't know if Vinny Lingham was involved in what he was talking about. That right there, I believe, is Lee Schneider. He was also in the meetings from the Freedom of Information Act. We'll get to him, but let's finish listening to this. Because in this, he says that they're forming an alliance with the SEC.
No one should have a 10,000% discount. People shouldn't be flipping tokens on consumers. Things like lockups, things like restrictions on trading to reduce the chance of speculation, to reduce harm to consumers. So what we're really focused on there is building an alliance with other blockchain companies, law firms. There's a couple of interesting law schools that are interested. We hope Berkeley's going to get involved as well, and regulators. We've had some talks with some folks at the SEC about this. We've had some talks with folks in other government agencies.
See, now the thing that none of them are saying when they're having all these public meetings, the thing none of them are saying is that what they were actually doing is trying to get Bitcoin and Ethereum a monopoly. There was no discussion about any other tokens. It was just Bitcoin and Ethereum, because they knew they could let Bitcoin be a store of value, and then they could have Ethereum be the only thing with clarity and all the tokens built on Ethereum. Why would you need anything else If you could just build it on Ethereum and build all the tokens on Ethereum, it would be a freaking monopoly. And that's what this was about from day one. We recognized it, and now we're seeing the actual emails that went back and forth and the actual meetings. We've got them. We know. Jimmy Valley's on it, and now we're starting to understand what happened during the critical time leading up to the speech. And this is from back when Jimmy did a timeline. Hold on a second. I am turning on my TV because I got to find this game. There it is. No. Here it is right here. This would be, let's see. It's Georgia versus West Virginia Little League. I'm going to watch that as soon as this video is over. All right. So then we have this from, this is Paul Graywall, the general counsel for Coinbase. He says, for most people, Friday is just the day before the weekend, but after this Friday, the neighborhood will never be the same. And what he's talking about is Coinbase is challenging the SEC suit against them. It says, today, Coinbase filed our brief asking court to dismiss the SEC case against us. Our core argument is simple. We do not offer investment contracts. In other words, what they're using here, folks, they're using the Ripple ruling to try to get this thing dismissed. Okay? And here's one of the sections where they talk about it in their motion. I guess it's a motion to dismiss. In Ripple, the institutional sales that the court found qualified as investment contracts were made pursuant to written contracts for future delivery. In this case, by contrast, the SEC has charged Coinbase based solely on blind bid-ask spot exchange transactions, the very sort of transactions the Ripple court recently held as a matter of law were not investment contracts because the undisputed facts show no relevant relationship between the parties. In other words, in the Ripple case, they said no, these transactions on these exchanges are completely okay because the buyers of XRP or whatever the digital asset is, they don't know who the seller is. They don't expect any kind of profit based on the originator of that digital asset. And that's the point. So if this thing gets thrown out, it's a death blow to Gary Gensler and his crypto crusade. Now, I want to finish with this. There's a Bloomberg thing that came out that showed some behind the scenes photos of the lifestyle that Sam Bankman-Fried was living. This is his some Bahamas pictures. I just thought you might be interested in those. I still say that this FTX thing was a government setup. That right there is his dad. I think his dad's name is Joe Bankman. That right there is his father, I think. And his father spending time down there in the offices. Remember, his father and his mother were tax attorneys at Stanford. The same Stanford, I told you I was listening to a book the other day. The same Stanford that was basically funded from Department of Defense stuff. I'm convinced this FTX thing was a government-run operation from the word go. Look at this. He's hanging out on the private jets. You know what else? That right there is Patrick Collison. You know what he's from? He is from, John Collison, sorry. From Stripe. Stripe is the same company that was the first investor in Stellar and took 2% of the XLM supply up front for their investment. And to this day, my understanding is that they have 2% of the supply. He was really living it up. Check all these pictures out. Playing chess out here, fun and games, having these nice dinners. Good for him. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family if you were able. These are the kind of things you get to do when you're meeting behind closed doors with the White House, the CFTC, the SEC, Congress. You're just throwing money at everybody, and you get to live like this. This is what it's like. You're having meetings with Gary Gensler, planning, plotting. Thanks for listening.